All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go ahead and kick off the Transportation Advisory Committee for the Pikes Peak Area Council of Government. My name is Gail Sturdivant. I am the Acting Public Works Director for the City of Colorado Springs and chair of this committee. So as we call this meeting to order, we're going to go around and do introductions, and then I will look at the PPACG staff to verify that we have a quorum. So starting off to my right for those in my room first, in the room today first. Go ahead, Lan.
Good afternoon, Land Rail Transit Services Manager.
Jeff Guthrie, Region 2 CDOT.
Junior Rodriguez, Region 2 Local Agency.
Lachelle Davis, CDOT Region 2 Local Agency.
Darren Horstmeyer, Schriever Space Force Base.
Jason Dosh, Town of Palmer Lake Public Works Supervisor.
Victoria Chavez, El Paso County.
Janelle Miller, PPACG staff.
Jessica Bechtel, PPACG staff.
Okay, and great. And then online, it appears voting members, Kathleen, that you're on, if you want to do your introduction. I do see Kathleen on the phone. And then I don't see other voting members online. I don't know if PPACG could verify that independently.
Sorry, I got my mic turned on now. It's Kathleen Collins, CDOT Statewide and Regional Planning. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Kathleen. And then were you able to verify, since we don't have very many voting members online, do we have a quorum? And then we have two CDOT voting members, correct? With Kathleen, and aren't you the other? All right, so we have established we do have a quorum, so we're gonna to move on. Hopefully have the opportunity to look at the agenda today. And if everyone is satisfied for the agenda, I'd be looking for a motion to approve the agenda as published. If there's a correction, please state so.
This is Jason. I'll move to approve the agenda.
Victoria, I second.
Oh.
Go ahead, Kathleen.
I was going to second, but I don't need to.
Somebody has to. So we're going to take that as your second, Kathleen. Thank you.
I thought Victoria got on and did a second, but
no, you were first. She tried, but you were you made the motion. All right. Any further discussion on the agenda? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed say nay. All right, the agenda is approved as published. We're going to move on to public comments or presentations for items that are not on the agenda. Are there any members in the audience that would like to make a public comment statement presentation for an item not on the agenda? All right, seeing none online, and I'm going to turn to Philip here as winner AB to see if you had any indication electronically or if previous notice.
I do not see anybody in chat or in video raising their hand.
All right, let's move on to the approval of the minutes. Again, the minutes were in your packet for the December 21st, 2023 meeting. I am going to ask for a friendly amendment to the minutes, and it has to do with the safety targets, safety performance targets. And I know that we discussed this at the last minute, that I think I would like this on the record in the minutes that as members of the TAC, that we do not necessarily, we probably need to go back and look at the recording. I could not find the recording online either, which is the other thing that we probably need to catch up on. But I think it's not the best language or misleading language that we use the word targets. And I would recommend that we, for PPACG and ultimately through the state and hopefully get to federal highways, which does, I know, set the requirements for this, that we change targets to performance trends, or even striking targets and or performance target and just saying trends, safety trends. I think that's important because we in no means have a target to have so many fatalities, crashes, and things of this nature. So anyway, that would be my amendment, to make that statement in accordance with the meeting. Any other amendments or comments on the minutes? All right, hearing none, then I would be asking one of my colleagues to make a motion to accept the minutes with the modification that I proposed.
This is Jason. I'll make that motion with Gail's amendment.
Thank you.
This is Lan. I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and second on the minutes to be approved with that modification. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Say nay. All right, the minutes are approved with that amendment. Board of Directors report, John, or someone else on your team.
Let's see, I think we had Jessica had a couple of tip items. One was the CDOT contingency provision, which was accepted and adopted. And the other was to release the tip for the draft tip for the public comment and open house. And that was also accepted. Additionally, then we had the safety trends or target presentation as an information item. The item itself was covered, but then we spun off into space talking about all things safety. And that was an information item that we will bring back again to the board in February. I think the next board meeting is February 14th. I think that was it for the transportation apps. The one thing I will mention is that if someone is interested, when they did sort of go off on the tangent on safety, they did request that we would have a workshop on safety. So after the board meeting is over, and they usually shoot for about 11 o'clock, if not earlier, we'll have a workshop right afterwards where we'll focus on safety. We will probably talk about the Woodland Park / PPACG region certified safety action plan effort. We'll probably talk about the Drive Smart Colorado, since we have Trish on board, and some of the high school programs, since one of the things that they sort of went off on was, well, how do we get to how do we get to kids to make kids better drivers? So we'll have Trish talk about the teens in the driver's seat program, as well as the good spirit, common spirit, whatever it is, Choose Safe program. Those are two high school programs that we'll probably chat about. And then in addition to that, we'll ask Jason to give them a little bit of an update on the cross causation study and the information therefrom. So we're putting that together now. If anybody else has anything safety related that they want to get on the agenda with or be there to support, happy to have you.
Yeah, that was actually going to be a question. Do you want members from the TAC to be available for that discussion?
So the safety discussion itself, it wouldn't be a bad idea if both, and again, all apologies to all of the jurisdictions, but if El Paso County and Colorado Springs could have somebody there, that is, again, 90% of where someone might say, well, shouldn't we do this or that? And I know El Paso County, you just did your safety plan and that, so it might be nice to have you guys there as the big discussion sort of goes. After the presentation, I was planning on just sort of opening it up, and we had one gentleman, I believe from, was it Callahan, that was talking about, I guess he's the trustee on the board, and he was talking about how the district attorney isn't prosecuting cases and stuff like that. Rama. So we figured the first part will be sort of, here are the efforts that we're doing and that we've got sort of underway. And then the rest of the time will be sort of that open discussion, and who knows what's going to come up during the open discussion. So if you guys are available and can have somebody there, that would be great. But if not, it's my problem, not yours. So.
Well, and I want to know why they've asked for this. Was it based on a public input? Was it based on a survey result? Was it based on the discussion on safety target?
It was based on the discussion on safety targets.
Okay, well then I think it would be important this would be there because again, just similar to what I mentioned, it not knowing exactly what it means just based on the words that are used to describe that target. I'm using that can be very misleading, and I think it would be important maybe if we preface it, and that's why I want to make sure the minutes are adjusted, that we don't really feel like target is the right thing. It's a trend of what has happened, not what should happen.
Bless you.
Excuse me. All right, thank you.
Yep, no, thank you. And like I said, if anybody can be there or has something, let me know, and we'll go from there.
Okay, great. Any questions, further questions for John? All right, seeing none. Let's move on to the first action item, agenda item 6A, the long-range transportation plan.
Thank you. So mostly just an update today for status of the LRTP elements. I was out last week for the first project selection workshop. I've heard about it from my colleagues here. And hopefully we can get some of that buttoned up after TAC today. So we really just put this in as an action item so that we could make sure if we needed to take any action today or get any guidance that TAC could provide that to us. For status items, the traffic demand model, I believe there is a charrette going on tomorrow at the Wilson office. And the land use modeling is being wrapped up as we speak. For the public involvement assistance, we did set the date for the third Regional Transportation Plan Advisory Committee meeting. There's a typo here in the memo, but it is the third meeting and it's scheduled for February 1st. The agenda is going to talk about a bit of the draft project list and the next steps, just in broad terms, kind of the analysis that we have to do of those projects and what happens between now and the public comment period. We did want to ask the TAC, once the draft LRTP project list is finalized and moves on to some of that analysis, if you're comfortable with us sharing that with the Rat Pack, or if you would prefer us to just highlight a few of the projects. It's kind of just something we wanted to bring to you all to see what you were comfortable with at this stage in the LRTP development, if you have thoughts on that.
Can you remind me of the breadth of understanding of the process of members of the PAC members? And the reason why I'm asking, because I'm wondering if you're going to get some more jurisdictional specific questions that you may need somebody for the city or county available for that. And I can tell you that, well, we could see how we could staff that. But my guess is between your groups of priorities or things like that, that may come up. Victoria, would you imagine that could happen on yours as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it most definitely could. And again, the whole Rat Pack, when we look at it, right, they're stakeholders. And if they're stakeholders, they're usually there for a reason, right? Because they're a transit advocate or a bicycle advocate or a certain part of town, right? And so it is just natural that you will say, well, why isn't there more projects in my part of town? Or why is there more bicycle projects? Or why isn't there more sidewalk projects, right? So I think that is definitely a realistic expectation that there will be some questions there, which is why we didn't want to just, part of us is like, okay, after we develop the list, we just tell them, here's the list. However, it's a draft list. And after we do the modeling, half of this stuff might go away and get changed. But then we were like, well, it is what it is, and we can do that. But it also might sort of just create a lot more angst than is necessary, especially in the process, because we're still very early here in 2024, and we're still shooting to get to December of 2024. Yeah, just a short, 11 months away. So we could just sort of leave it towards, 5 or 6 sort of transformative sort of projects, and just say, these are the sorts of projects that are in the plan. And right now the plan still needs to be modeled. So we're not going to give you, we did not want to bring you the full list because it possibly could change as we model for GHG. So we can do either one. And again, instead of us making a decision and then having you guys go, well, why didn't you do the exact opposite? We thought, well, we'll just chat about it. And we really do not have a preference, and so we can kind of do whatever makes sense to you guys. And it looks like none of it makes sense. you don't look happy.
I'm just concerned because we've gone through such a process to go through and do that. And our process isn't that we just sat down there and did that. We've, from the city, we've already gone through our transportation master plan. So what we brought forward mirrored all that public engagement. I know the county is in them going through their transportation master plan. So I would be very concerned if there were recommendations or changes that would come from that committee. I don't mind responding to questions or pointing them back to the process and how the priorities were set or how the projects were determined, but I am concerned about them recommending changes. So
Right.
Victoria, it looks like you wanted to add.
Yeah, and just, I agree with everything you said, but adding on to that is that at that point, February 1st, the TAC is not going to have voted yet. And so
That's true.
I think the TAC should have the opportunity to vote first before we take it sort of for a public comment.
So maybe
type
what
period.
we just talk about the overall process and not get into any specifics. We can do that.
I think that would be great if there are things that they wanted to send back to the TAC for their consideration. I think that's appropriate. But as far as making any recommendations or changes, that they would need to come back to the TAC first, if that's.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
no, and again, I think we've made it very clear to the Rat Pack. And again, some of you have been to all the meetings, some of you have not. But the ones of you who've gone to the meetings, I think we've tried as staff to make it very clear that project selection is not in their purview. There's just too many things. And so I think that has been, for the first 2 meetings, we have mentioned that more than once. So I don't think there will be any issue with this 3rd meeting, just having us go through the process and letting them know that the TAC is voting on it, and then we have to do all the modeling and everything else. And I think that's sufficient. So we're not changing anything or going back any promises. Because again, from the very beginning, we've been like, well, you guys can make recommendations. You can tell us, but you're better off telling the jurisdictions directly, because that's how the process really gets started.
Well, yeah, and again, in my case, and I think Victoria's as well, that we would send them back. We've gone through the public process
Yeah.
and the prioritization and the identification of projects. So thank you for that.
Yeah, that's consistent with what we've said.
My public process will have ended the day before. So.
So as I review your memo, it looks like that it's just any additional guidance you may be seeking from the TAC. And I think we've just heard, we'll try to help support you maybe a little bit differently in this next Rat Pack meeting when you talk about the project selection process. And then we'll go from there unless someone else wants to add something else. All right. Thank you. Hopefully that's the guidance you're looking for. All right, let's move on.
We're supposed to do like a Jedi way, but this is the guidance.
John. So let's move on to item 6B and talk about the CDOT safety target settings / trends.
Yes, so today we are looking for adoption or a recommendation to support those numbers set forth by CDOT as our requirement from being the MPO. I believe all of the questions that TAC had were answered last month by David Swinka of CDOT. And so today we're really just following up with that action item.
Okay. Any other, and is David on today?
I don't believe so.
And is David going to be on at the
Yes.
board meeting?
Yes, and
Okay.
and at our community advisory committee as well.
Okay. And another question, sorry. One of the questions the TAC asked last time is why we do this. Is it clear to our elected officials and the CAC why we do this and what the purpose of going through and doing this? And if not, I would request that we make sure that he hits not just what they are, but starts up with why this has to be set and what that would mean to us as a community.
Yes, that's a great point. And that has come up at both CAC and board last month. Like, what is not only what is the reason that we do this, but also what is the penalty if we don't hit these numbers? So that I know that was a question asked at both last month.
Okay. Any other comments, questions, motions?
This is Jason. I'll recommend the Board of Directors support the CDOT safety target / trends for calendar year 2024.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jason. I do want to point out, I believe there's at least a minimum of one additional voting member online. It looks like Doe Urbanic from Manitou Springs is on.
I believe Becky Frank from Green Mountain Falls has
is
also
she?
joined us.
Okay, great. I'm glad you could see that. I'm not seeing that on. So we have, great, thank you. So we have 2 other voting members online. We have a motion on the table to accept the safety targets as presented in our memo.
This is Becky. I'll second.
Thank you, Becky. So I've got a motion by Jason, second by Becky. Any further discussion? Yes, John.
And so we'll get with David and see from a federal perspective if there's any reason it needs to have in their targets, but we can, if there's no reason we can't change all the wording to trends with your permission, or we think what we're taking is your direction as a whole is that we should change it to trends anywhere we're allowed to. And so we're happy to do that, but let's check with David first.
I would appreciate that. And I would even say, even if it's important to make sure that the verbiage we're using is consistent with the verbiage needed for federal compliance, if we could do an introductory paragraph with that, what that means for us as a region, that would be great, fantastic, if that's allowed. But I appreciate you checking and following up on that.
We'll do, it looks like, was it that?
Well, that was Kathleen's computer.
It was Aaron.
Aaron, I think Aaron is on.
Not Aaron Busto, but Aaron. No, I guess.
I'm having trouble with my laptop finding the team meets, and Aaron's helping me with my video. So
oh, okay.
I'm just trying to sort that out. So you can ignore my camera.
Okay.
All right.
I've also reached out to David Schwenka about the term trend versus target. And I don't know if I'll get a response by the end of the meeting today, but that's something that I am working on. So
Great.
thanks.
Great. Thank you. I appreciate that, Kathleen. Any further discussion before we take a vote? All right, hearing none. All in favor of accepting these target / trends, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say nay. All right, so you have those to pass forward. Thank you for the follow-up
Thank you.
on that item. Let's move on to item 7A. Information items. So the CDOT fiscal year 22-23 revenue reconciliation. So Jess?
Yes, so this is an information item, no action required today. We're just bringing it to you so that you can read through the CDOT memo and know that we are working on this on our side of things right now. So we're working with CDOT to reconcile the tip and the STIP, and we may or may not have some adjustments to the funding programs. We're not quite there yet, but again, just bring it to you for information. And next month, if there's any action required, you'll see that as action. And in the meantime, we may reach out if it affects any of your projects or programs. So that's it.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate you following up with CDOT because I was actually struggling to understand exactly what their memo meant. So we'll wait until we hear back from you. How about that? Yes, John.
Yeah, and the bottom line is that we don't program all the way up to the amount available. And so the first thing we need to do is get the actual versus estimate of the funds that are available. And if the actual that is available to us is over what we've programmed, there's nothing that we need to do. If in fact that we are over programmed by federal rule, we need to have a fiscal constraint. So we'll come back and say, hey, we're X amount of dollars over in this year by this fund source. And then we'll sort of ask for a volunteer, because sometimes people have projects in a year that they're not ready to go. So if your project is going to slip anyway, we just move that project back and that fixes the problem. So there's a sort of a triage of different things that need to happen. We're only on step one and we'll move forward. I will mention, and Michelle, I don't know if you want to jump in, but this also impacts CDOT's federal funds within the region. And so if the CDOT has projects that are programmed and there might be an issue with their funding, CDOT will reach out to you directly if they need to ask you to make adjustments. Is that a fair thing to say? But at this point, it's just a heads up going from actuals from estimates, and could be great. I mean, could be not a problem at all, or could be something where we have to make some paper shuffles.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And, first blush, it looks like there might have to be some adjustments from the original budgets downward. So anyway, we will cross that bridge after you get through your process. So thank you. Any other questions for Jess or the rest of the PPACG staff on this item? All right, we're going to move on to item 7B. Is the CDOT updates. Kathleen, would you like to go first today?
Sure, that would be great. So in terms of staff changes here at CDOT HQ, Brian Metzger, he's been selected for the Program Reporting and Transportation Transparency Office. He's going to be a manager for that organization within the department. And then we have hired 2 new interns. I don't know if they're on the meeting right now. It's Robin Bardmesser and Spencer York. And then the multimodal planning branch is also in the process of hiring a full-time junior planner and a part-time strategic communications staff member. In terms of the TC was scheduled to approve the opening of the rulemaking for House Bill 231101. That's the one piece of legislation that ended up causing the need to do the TPR study and a review of the TPR boundaries. And so I believe the TC opened the rulemaking process, and then a final decision won't take place until either June or July this year regarding the boundary changes, if there are any. Also, there was some really good materials presented at STAC, Planning 101, Asset Management Overview, and also Region 2, Shane Ferguson, the RTD for Region 2, provided an update of Region 2 projects. And Darius Pakbaz gave us a STAC work plan schedule. So what I'm going to do is put the link to the STAC packet for January in the chat of this meeting, and then everyone will have access to that. It's all very good information.
Great. Thank you, Kathleen. Yes, John.
Kathleen, just a quick question for you. On the rulemaking, obviously this region was opposed to rolling all of El Paso County into the MPO. for the purposes of the stack and the TPRs. Are they going beyond whatever was in the final recommendation? Do we need to send something that reiterates our opposition to that? Or at this point, the rulemaking is only focusing on what was being proposed? Just want to make sure that there's no last minute switcheroo on us.
Right, no, actually, the stack packet has the information of what's part of the rulemaking. So if you go to the stack packet and look at that, it'll say what was outlined. But what I understand is it basically reflects the recommendations from the final report, which were the staff recommendations. But then it's up to whatever comes of the Transportation Commission's decision-making for the final decision, because they're not obligated to follow CDOT staff recommendations. They're going to look at everything, both the public comment as well as the staff recommendations, before they make a final decision. And there will be I think roughly 4 opportunities that, public hearings will be associated with the rulemaking session that's going on, that just opened up. And so there'll be other opportunities for people to comment. And if you care to comment again, it may not hurt to have other records or comments on file if something else occurs to you. So you have an opportunity to provide more comment.
Thank you again. Any other further discussion or questions for Kathleen? Yes, go ahead, Victoria.
Not a question for Kathleen, but for the group, I think it would be great if we would send a letter of support to the TAC, or I'm sorry, to the transportation. Oh, it is still TAC. To the Transportation Commission supporting CDOT staff recommendations.
I think that sounds like a lovely idea. Would PPACG be able to help us do that, one, or prepare it? And then who would be appropriate to sign it? Because I think that would be better coming from the board versus.
I believe that as this item has come up before, the board did take some sort of action, and this would be consistent with that action.
It is consistent with what we asked for.
So let me talk with Andy. I think we could just write up a letter and then ask our board chair, Mayor Sharon Thompson, to sign it and send it off.
Perfect. Thank you.
I think we can do
Great
this administratively. I don't think we need to have it go through a 2-month process, but.
Thank you. All right. Any other questions, discussions with Kathleen? All right. I know we had a bunch of folks join after we did roll call. Are there other members of CDOT that would like to make an announcement before I go into the room? Because Jeff is dying to talk. Matt, I see you're on.
I don't have anything. Thank you.
Okay. John, anything?
Just listening in. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, John. All right. If I missed anyone else from CDOT, please raise your hand digitally if you're online. Otherwise, I'll go to Jeff, who's here in the room.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Kathleen actually stole all of my thunder except for one point from the Transportation Commission, also included in their packet. If anybody wants a link, I can easily share it. But there's the commission was considering an update to the 2018, now considered 2024 state freight and passenger rail plan. And then Kathleen, I believe, said that there's an overview of our transportation asset management program in there. The Planning 101 has a couple of informative slides. We await schedule details tying into the rulemaking effort that was opened today by the Transportation Commission regarding the TPR boundary study, because once that's finalized, then we can start our 2050 long-range transportation plan. And that's the region plans, the statewide plan, and the statewide transit plan. And that is all. Also, I hope to have at next month's TAC, an exciting staff member new hire update in the transit liaison position, not mine. Don't look at me like that.
Wow, that's a lot of hype.
Will
All right.
Will the announcement be exciting, or will the staff member be exciting?
All I know is if that person's coming from any one of our organizations, we are not going to be happy with you. Okay, perfect. Just wanted to make sure that was clear. All right, Junior, did you have anything you'd like to add?
No, I don't have anything.
Lachelle?
I'm good as well. Thank you.
All right. Let's move on to item 7C, the IIJA updates.
Scroll down here. Just for everyone's information, I believe you all already know that the RAISE grants are open, the ATTAIN grants are open. I did want to point out a new program that the state has. It's for grant writing and technical assistance. So you can actually get someone to help you with pre-construction activities, kind of some of that right of way or design type elements that a lot of the smaller jurisdictions have trouble getting together before applying for a grant. So the state has $1 million available. There's no deadline on it. It's pretty much the first people who get awarded get the funding until it runs out. So there is a link in your packet to that program. And just wanted to bring it to everybody's awareness. And I think that's really the only new thing that that I've noticed. Two other things that aren't in this because they came out after I put this memo together, but the Office of Innovative Mobility has a grant program that has come out. I believe Jess sent that to you all last week or earlier this week. And also the Bridge Investment Program has opened as well. So if you want any information on those, please let us know. We'll forward that information on to you.
Yeah, thank you. And if you're interested in that Bridge Investment Program, they've actually laid out fiscal year 23 through, I think it's 27 in there with the deadlines, and that has 3 different grant types. There's a planning level grant, there's a bridge project, so anything that's less than 100 million, then a large bridge project, which is over 100 million. So there's a lot of opportunities. I actually had somebody put together a matrix with the deadlines with the different fiscal years if you're interested in having that shared with you. As long as you don't take my resources, I will share. All right.
I believe the matrix was developed by Neil.
All right, great. Thank you for that. All right, member entity announcements. Victoria, we're going to start with you and work our way around.
All right, I will be very brief. We do have the Major Transportation Corridor Plan projects draft on a website, mappable. You can go on there, select a project, select a road that's not what has a listed project, and tell us what you think about our draft plan. That is open until January 31st. And the address is www.2045mtcp.com.
Thank you. Jason.
Nope, nothing new here.
Darren, anything? All right, Lan. All right, I will have a couple things, but I want to go to my colleagues that are online first. Becky?
Yeah, just a quick update. Huge victory for Green Mountain Falls. We have just received a draft of our comprehensive roads and drainage study. This is a big deal for us because it will help to inform what our actual needs are in pursuit of grant applications. So I think that's the biggest new thing in Green Mountain Falls.
Great, thank you. Dole?
No, Gail, no news from us.
Okay, great. I think that hit the local jurisdictions that are online. If there's somebody that I missed, because it's very hard for me to see that portion of the screen, please raise your hand. Otherwise, I'll hit for a couple for the city of Colorado Springs. We are going to be working with our congressional delegation in a concert with PPACG in the county. I'm doing a congressionally directed spending application for that, the North Gate of Peterson Space Force Space. So you'll hear more on that, more collaboration within this subset of this team. We likely will be doing a planning grant of the Bridge Investment Program, and when the one we won, we were going to be preparing for next fall to go after the construction dollars. And then Transit is actually going to be pursuing a grant underneath the Office of Innovation and Mobility grant for another planning grant to really look at universal ticketing with a lot of the other different resources and helping develop a plan, identifying those different entities and the resources that are going to be needed to go through and do that. So if you don't know what that is, mobile ticketing, you could use the same platform to go and do that, potentially get a Pike ride, or potentially maybe even someday integrate with Uber or a scooter or something like that. Or just parking. How about that? Since parking and transit are in the same entity. Anyway, so those are the three big things that we're working on out there. But that's all I have for the city of Colorado Springs. All right, any items for future TAC meetings folks want to bring up? Hearing none, if we'll move on, but if you have an idea, please email it to PPACG staff and they'll send it to your elected officers just to review for future agendas. Otherwise, we are adjourned at 2:11 p.m.